You notice the silence first, not because it is unusual, but because it feels too complete. It presses gently against your ears, soft but constant, as if the night itself is holding its breath. You lie still, your body relaxed, your eyes open in the darkness of your room. Nothing moves, nothing shifts. And yet, something feels wrong. You do not sit up immediately. You do not reach for anything, you simply listen. The air is still. No wind outside, no distant cars, no subtle hum of something alive, just silence. And within that silence, you. You blink slowly, your eyes adjusting to the faint shapes around you. The ceiling above, the corner of the room, the outline of furniture you have seen 1,000 times before. Everything is where it should be. Everything is normal. But the feeling does not leave. It lingers, quiet, uncomfortable. You shift slightly in your bed. The fabric beneath you moves with a soft sound, barely audible, but enough to break the silence for a moment. Then it returns. Thicker than before, you breathe in slowly. The air feels the same, warm, familiar, safe, and yet you cannot ignore it anymore. The sensation settles deeper. You are not alone. The thought does not arrive as panic. It does not rush into your mind. It forms slowly, like something that has always been there, waiting to be noticed. You do not turn your head quickly. You do not search the room, because something inside you tells you that looking too fast would confirm it. You remain still, listening. The silence stretches. Then something shifts. Not a sound, not movement, a presence. You feel it before anything else, subtle, just at the edge of your awareness. Like someone standing just outside of where you can see. You swallow slowly, your throat tightening just enough to make the motion feel heavier than it should. Your heart does not race, not yet. It beats steadily, controlled, as if it has not fully understood what is happening. You slowly turn your head, just a little. The room remains the same. The shadows have not changed. The corners are still empty. Nothing stands where it shouldn't. And yet, the feeling remains, stronger now, closer. You sit up, slowly. The movement feels heavier than it should, your body responding with a slight delay, as if something inside you is resisting the act. Your feet touch the floor. Cold, solid is real. You pause again. The silence holds, and then you hear it. A sound, faint, sharp, sudden. Your phone, it rings. The sound cuts through the silence instantly. Too loud, too clear, breaking everything that had settled around you. You look toward it. The screen glows softly in the darkness, lighting up the room just enough to shift the shadows. The name does not matter. The number does not matter. What matters is this. You are not expecting a call. You reach for it slowly. Your hand moves with hesitation, your fingers hovering just above the screen before touching it. The ringing continues. Loud, uncomfortable. You answer. The silence on the other end is immediate. No voice, no breathing, nothing. You do not speak, you wait. The line remains open. And then, a sound, soft, controlled. Someone is breathing, not you, not close, but there, listening, waiting. And within that quiet, unsettling connection, something becomes clear. The silence you felt before the phone rang was never empty. You do not speak. You do not move. The phone remains pressed against your ear, your fingers tightening slightly around it as the silence stretches again. The breathing on the other end continues, soft, controlled, too steady to be accidental. It does not rush. It does not hesitate. It simply exists there with you. You listen. Every part of your awareness narrows into that faint sound, your world shrinking to the quiet space between each breath. You expect something, a voice, a word, anything, but nothing comes. The breathing remains. Then it stops. Instantly. Completely. The silence returns, but this time it feels different. Not empty, not passive. It feels aware. You pull the phone away slightly, your eyes lowering to the screen. The call is still active. The line has not dropped. You bring it back to your ear, slowly. The silence holds for one more second, then a whisper, so faint you almost miss it. You shouldn't be alone. Your breath catches, not sharply, not dramatically, just enough to break the steady rhythm your body had been holding. The voice is not loud, not aggressive. It is calm, controlled. as if it is not trying to scare you, as if it already knows that it doesn't need to. You do not respond, you do not ask who it is, because something inside you already understands that the answer would not help. The line goes dead. The silence returns, but this time, it does not settle. You lower the phone slowly, your hand lingering midair for just a moment before placing it beside you. The room is still the same, the walls have not moved, the shadows remain unchanged, and yet, nothing feels the same anymore. You stand there, your body still, your awareness expanding outward again, touching the space around you in a way it did not before. The feeling returns, stronger now. You are not alone, not in the way that matters. You turn your head slightly. The room holds, nothing moves, nothing shifts. But the sensation does not fade. It lingers, it presses. You take a step forward. The floor beneath you creaks softly, the sound sharp against the quiet. You freeze. Not because of the noise, because of what follows it. Nothing, no reaction, no movement. The house does not respond, but the feeling does. It sharpens. You move again, slower this time. Your steps more careful, more controlled. Your awareness stretching up or further, searching without wanting to find. You reach the doorway. The hallway beyond is darker, but deeper. The shadows there feel thicker, more solid, as if they are holding something inside them. You do not step into it immediately. You stand at the edge, listening, waiting, and then you hear it again, not the phone, not a voice, something else, a shift, faint, somewhere behind you. You turn quickly this time. The movement is instinctive, immediate. The room behind you is empty, exactly as it was before. Nothing has changed, nothing has moved, but the feeling is now closer. You feel it clearly, not distant, not at the edge of your awareness anymore. It is here, with you. You swallow slowly, your throat tightening again, your breath no longer as steady as it was before. The silence holds. The house remains still. And within that stillness, something becomes undeniable. You're not just being watched, you are being swallowed. You remain at the doorway, your body still or your eyes fixed on the room behind you. Nothing has changed. The walls remain where they are. The shadows do not shift. The furniture stands exactly as it should. And yet, the feeling does not fade. It lingers. Closer now. Sharper. No longer something you can pretend is distant. You step back into the room. Slowly, carefully. The floor creaks beneath your weight. The sound too loud in the quiet. You stop. You listen. Nothing answers. But the silence does not settle the way it did before. It feels aware. You turn your head slightly, your gaze moving across the room, tracing every corner, every shadow, every place where something could be hiding. But there is nothing. Nothing that your eyes can find. And still, something is there. You feel it. Not through sound, not through movement, through presence. You take another step. The space shifts around you, not physically, but in the way it feels, tighter, closer. As if something is standing just outside your sight, matching your movement without making a sound. You stop again, the sensation stops with you, you move again, it follows. The realization settles slowly. Not sudden, not sharp, certain. It is not in the room. It is not behind you, it is with you. Your breath changes slightly, not faster but uneven now. Your body no longer able to maintain the calm it held before. You reach for your phone again. Your fingers move quickly this time, less controlled. More instinctive. You unlock it. The screen lights up the room just enough to shift the shadows again. Everything still looks the same. You hesitate for a moment, then you dial. Yet you do not think about who you're calling. You do not consider whether it makes sense. You just need to hear something that is not silence. The ringing begins, loud, sharp, breaking the quiet in a way that almost feels wrong. You bring the phone to your ear, it rings once, twice, and 3 times, then stops. You wait. The line is open, no voice, no sound, just that same quiet, pressing sense, and then you hear it. Not through the phone, behind you, a breath, close, too close, and you freeze. Your body locks in place, your muscles tightening instantly, your breath stopping before you even realize it. The phone slips slightly in your hand, but you do not drop it. You cannot move, you cannot turn, because something inside you already knows. If you turn, it will be there. The breath comes again, slow, controlled, exactly the same as before. But this time, it is not distant. It is right behind you. You feel it. The warmth, the presence, the certainty. The phone is still at your ear, and from it, you hear the same breath, perfectly in sync. The realization hits without force, without shock, cold, clear. You're not hearing someone on the phone, you're hearing something that is already here. The line goes silent again, the breath behind you continues, and within that unbearable stillness, one quiet truth settles completely. The call never ended. You do not turn, your body remains locked in place, every muscle held tight, every movement paused before it can begin. The breath behind you continues, slow, controlled, too steady to belong to panic, too calm to belong to anything human in the way you understand it. And yet, it is human. You feel it, close, real. Your grip tightens around the phone. The screen is still lit, casting a faint glow across your hand, across the edge of the floor, across nothing else. The room has not changed, but the space within it has. The silence no longer belongs to you. You try to breathe, but your chest tightens. Your inhale shallow, uneven, your body no longer responding in the way it did before. The breath behind you continues. It does not rush. It does not press closer. It simply remains. And then the voice returns. Not from the phone, not distant, directly behind you. Don't move. The words are soft, controlled, almost gentle. That is what makes them worse. You do not move, not because you choose not to, because something inside you obeys before the thought can even form. The pressure that guided you before returns, but it is different now, stronger, and more direct. It does not wait for you to understand, it expects you to follow. The phone slips from your hand, it falls. The sound is sharp, breaking the silence for a brief moment before it disappears. The screen goes dark. The room dims again. The voice does not react. The breath does not change. You stand there, your body still, your awareness stretched to its limit. Every part of you focused on what is behind you without being able to see it. Good. Oi, good, the voice says. The word is quiet, calm, certain, as if this is exactly what was expected. Your heartbeat begins to rise now, not fast, not wild, but no longer steady. It moves unevenly, your body trying to respond to something it does not fully understand. You feel it clearly now. The presence is not just behind you, it is surrounding you, not physically, but in a way that leaves no space untouched. You swallow slowly, your throat dry, your breath catching again. You want to move, you want to turn, but something inside you holds you in place, not fear, not exactly. Something deeper. Something that feels like it has already decided what you will do next. You felt it before the call, didn't you? The voice continues. You do not answer. You cannot. The words settle into you without needing a response. That feeling, a pause, the breath remains steady. That was me. The realization forms instantly. Not as surprise, not as shock, as confirmation. The presence you felt before the phone rang was not your imagination. It was never empty. Your fingers twitch slightly at your sides, the smallest movement your body allows. The voice notices. It always does. You can turn now. The permission is given the same way the command was. Soft, certain, final. Your body responds before your mind does. Slowly, reluctantly, you begin to turn. The movement is heavy. Your muscles resisting just enough to make every second stretch longer than it should. Your vision shifts. The room moves with you. The shadows change shape, and then you see it. A figure, standing just behind where you were, still, watching. The mask catches the faint light. White, hollow, expressionless, but not empty, never empty. The breath continues behind it. You do not step back, you do not run, because something inside you already understands. This is not the beginning of something, it is the continuation. And as you stand there facing the figure for the first time, one quiet truth settles completely within you. That it was always going to reach you. You face the figure without stepping back, your body held in a stillness that no longer feels like a choice. The mask remains fixed, white and empty, its hollow eyes holding your gaze without blinking, without shifting. It does not move. It does not need to. The presence alone is enough. The room feels smaller now, tighter, as if the walls have drawn closer without changing their position. The air presses against you, thick and unmoving. carrying the faint echo of that steady breath. You do not speak. You do not ask who it is, because something inside you already understands that the answer would not change anything. The figure tilts its head slightly. The movement is slow, controlled, almost curious, not aggressive, not rushed, just enough to show that it is watching you the same way you are watching it. The silence stretches between you, but it is no longer empty. It is filled with something that does not need sound to exist. You feel it clearly now. You are not just being watched. You are being studied. You shift your weight slightly. The floor creaks beneath you. The sound is louder than it should be, breaking through the quiet for a brief moment. The figure reacts instantly, not by stepping forward, by becoming still again, perfectly still, the kind of stillness that feels unnatural, deliberate, controlled. The realization settles deeper. It is not reacting randomly, it is responding to you. You take a slow step back, the movement is careful, measured, your body testing the space between you. The figure does not follow. It remains where it is. But the presence does not lessen. If anything, it sharpens. You feel it move with you, not physically, but in a way that keeps the distance exactly the same. You stop. The figure tilts its head again, slightly more this time, as if adjusting to you. You glance toward the doorway behind you. The hallway remains dark, still, unchanged. But now, it feels further away, less accessible, as if the space between you and it has grown without moving. You look back at the figure. It has not moved, and yet it feels closer. Your breath tightens again, your chest rising and falling unevenly now, your body no longer able to maintain the steady control it had before. You take another step back. The floor creaks. The sound lingers. The figure reacts. This time, it steps forward. Just once. Slow, deliberate, matching your movement exactly. The distance remains the same. You freeze. The figure stops. The silence holds. The realization becomes clear. You are not controlling the distance. It is. You do not move again. You do not test it further, because something inside you already understands the rule. You cannot get away by stepping back. You glance again toward the hallway. The darkness there feels deeper now, more closed, less like an exit and more like something that leads further in. The house does not offer escape. It offers continuation. You look back at the figure. The mask remains fixed, unchanging, but the presence behind it feels alive, aware, focused entirely on you. And then it moves again, not stepping forward this time, lifting its hand slowly. The motion is controlled, deliberate, as if every movement is meant to be seen, meant to be understood. Yet it raises a finger, points, not at you, past you toward the hallway. You do not move, but something inside you shifts. The realization forms quietly, without resistance. It is not here to stop you. It is here to guide you. And as you stand there, caught between the figure and the darkness beyond, one quiet truth settles completely within you. You were never alone in this house, and now you never will be. You do not turn immediately. Your eyes remain fixed on the figure, on the raised hand, on the direction it points toward. The hallway behind you feels heavier now, deeper, as if it has changed while you were not looking. The silence presses closer, wrapping around the space between you and the figure, holding everything in place, and the mask does not move. The hand does not lower. It waits, not impatient, not urgent, certain. Yet you feel it clearly. This is not a suggestion. It is a continuation. You turn slowly. The movement is deliberate, your body responding with a controlled heaviness, as if every second of motion is being observed. The hallway stretches out in front of you, darker than before. The shadows no longer soft or distant, but thick, solid, almost layered. You take a step forward. The floor creaks beneath you. The sound echoes faintly, swallowed quickly by the walls. You stop. You listen. Nothing answers, and yet something shifts. Not ahead, not behind, to your side. You glance left. The wall stands still, empty. Nothing moves. But the feeling is there. Closer now. You take another step. The movement feels slower than it should, your body no longer moving freely, but guided, controlled as if something unseen is adjusting your pace. The presence behind you does not follow in sound. You do not hear footsteps. You do not hear movement. but you feel it, always just behind you, always at the same distance. You reach the middle of the hallway, the darkness thickens, the air grows heavier, the silence tightens, and then you see it. Not directly, not clearly. A shape, a shadow that does not belong to the wall. It shifts slightly, just enough to break the stillness. You stop instantly, the shadow stops, perfectly still. You stare at it, your eyes adjusting, trying to understand what you're seeing. But it does not resolve. It remains something, not fully there, not fully gone. You take a slow step closer. The shadow shifts again, not away, not toward you, with you. The realization forms slowly. It is not something separate. It is not something you can approach. And it is attached to you. You glance down. Your own shadow stretches along the floor, long and uneven, shaped by the faint light behind you. But this is not that. This moves differently. It reacts before you do. You lift your hand slightly, the shadow moves, but not in the same way your own does. There is a delay, a difference. It is not following you. It is deciding how to follow you. The breath returns, not behind you, not ahead, around you, soft, controlled, the same rhythm as before. You do not turn, you do not step back, because something inside you already understands. You're not being followed anymore. You're being matched. You lower your hand. The shadow settles, the hallway holds, the silence remains. You take another step. The shadow moves with you, not perfectly, not naturally, but intentionally. You continue forward. The phase darkness deepens, the presence remains, and within that quiet, suffocating space, something becomes clear. The figure behind you is no longer the only thing here. You continue forward, your steps slow, deliberate, the floor answering each movement with a quiet creak that fades too quickly to feel real. The hallway does not change, but it feels longer now, as if each step stretches the distance instead of closing it. The shadow remains beside you, slightly out of sync, moving with intention rather than reflection. You do not look at it directly anymore. You feel it. That is enough. The presence behind you has not disappeared. It has not weakened. It remains exactly where it was, close enough to exist, far enough to never be touched. You feel it with every step. The awareness sharpens further, spreading through the space around you, touching everything without needing to see it. And within that awareness, something becomes clear. You're not being chased. You're being followed. The difference settles quietly, completely. You slow your pace. The movement becomes even more controlled, each step measured, your body adjusting without effort. The shadow slows with you, the presence behind you slows with you. Everything remains aligned. You stop, instantly. The floor creaks once, then silence. The shadow stops. The breath behind you continues, soft, controlled, waiting. You do not turn, because something inside you already knows what will happen if you do. Instead, you listen. The silence holds for a moment longer. Then you hear it. Another step, not yours, behind you, slow, heavy, deliberate. The sound does not echo. It does not fade. It simply exists. You take a step forward. The floor answers. Another step follows behind you. Perfectly timed, perfectly matched. You move again, the same pattern. Your step, then theirs. Always the same distance, always the same rhythm. The realization deepens. This is not random. This is not uncontrolled. It is precise. You stop again. The floor creaks once more. The sound settles. The step behind you stops. The breath continues, unchanged. You feel it clearly now. The presence is not reacting to you. It is synchronizing with you. You begin to walk again. The pattern continues. Step, then step, step, then step. Always the same, always aligned. The shadow shifts slightly beside you, no longer just following, but adjusting, correcting itself, as if it is trying to match something it cannot fully become. The hallway opens slightly ahead. Leading into another room, the darkness there is deeper, more complete, swallowing the faint light that reaches it. You do not hesitate. You continue forward. The steps behind you follow. The rhythm does not break. The presence does not change. You reach the doorway. You stop. The shadow stops. The step behind you stops. The breath continues. You stand there for a moment, your awareness stretched to its limit, the space around you fully occupied by something that does not need to reveal itself to exist. And then something shifts, not behind you, not beside you, inside you. The realization forms slowly, quietly. You're not just being followed, you are learning the pattern. You take a step into the room. The floor changes beneath you, softer, less stable. The sound is different, but the rhythm continues. Your step, then theirs. You move further in, the darkness closes around you. The presence remains, the shadow adjusts, and within that quiet, controlled movement, one truth settles completely within you. This is not something that ends. This is something that continues. You step deeper into the room, the floor softer beneath you, absorbing the sound of your movement until it barely exists. The darkness closes in, thicker, here, heavier, as if the space has chosen to hold you instead of letting you pass through it. The rhythm behind you continues, your step, then theirs, but now it feels closer. Not because the distance has changed, because the space has tightened. You stop. The sound stops. The breath remains, always the breath, soft, controlled, present. You stand there, your awareness stretched outward, touching the edges of the room, feeling the walls without seeing them, sensing the space without understanding it. There is no clear shape here, no clear path, only depth. You take a step back. The floor answers, a step follows, the same distance, the same timing. You take another step back, the same result. Nothing changes. The realization forms slowly, settling into place without resistance. The direction does not matter. Forward or back, it stays with you. You turn slightly, not fully, just enough to test the space beside you. The shadow shifts instantly, adjusting to your movement, never fully matching, never fully separating. You take a step to the side. The pattern follows. The presence remains. The breath does not break. You stop again. The room holds. The silence presses closer. And within that stillness, something becomes undeniable. There is no direction that leads away from it. You begin to move again. This time slower, more controlled, your body adjusting not to escape but to understand. Step, then step, step, then step. Always the same, always aligned. The pattern does not break. It does not hesitate. It does not allow variation. You take a deeper breath. It feels heavier now, your chest tightening slightly, your body responding to something it cannot fully process. You look toward the far side of the room. There is nothing there. No door, no window, no shape that offers an exit. Just darkness, endless. You move toward it anyway. The steps follow. The breath remains. The shadow shifts. You reach forward slightly with your hand. The air feels thicker, almost solid, as if the darkness itself has weight. You stop. The presence stops. The realization settles deeper. That this is not a space you move through. This is a space that holds you in place. You lower your hand. The motion feels heavier now, slower, as if your body is no longer moving freely, but within something that resists without pushing back. You turn your head again, slowly. The presence remains unseen, always just outside your vision, always just behind the point where clarity would begin. You step again, the pattern continues. And then, you stop trying to change it. The movement becomes simpler, less searching, less testing. You walk. The steps follow. You pause. The steps pause. The breath continues. The shadow remains. Everything stays exactly as it should. And within that steady, controlled repetition, something shifts inside you. Not fear, not panic, something quieter, acceptance. The realization forms fully now. You're not being chased. You're not escaping. You're within something that does not allow either. The room does not open. The presence does not leave. The pattern does not break. You step again. The rhythm continues. And as you move through the darkness that does not change, that does not end, that does not offer anything beyond itself, one quiet truth settles completely within you. You cannot get away from something that is already where you are. You stop trying to measure the space. You stop testing the distance. The room does not change because you move, and it does not release you because you understand it. The pattern holds, steady and precise, your step followed by another, your stillness matched by theirs. The breath continues, always the breath, soft, controlled, unbroken. And within that unbroken rhythm, something inside you begins to strain. Not fear, that has already been shaped, already been contained. Something deeper, a tension that does not belong to the house. It begins faintly, a subtle pressure beneath your awareness, something that does not align with the steady flow you have accepted. You take a step forward. The pattern follows. You stop. The pattern stops. And yet, the tension remains. It does not fade with your movement. It does not settle with your stillness. It builds, slowly, quietly. You feel it in your chest, not as breath, not as heartbeat, but as something pressing outward, as if a part of you is pushing against the structure that holds everything in place. You do not understand it, but you feel it. You take another step. The floor answers. The step behind you follows. The breath remains steady, but the tension sharpens. You turn your head slightly. Not enough to see, enough to feel. The presence does not change, it does not react. It remains exactly as it has been, and that is what breaks it. The realization forms slowly, but once it begins, it does not stop. Nothing changes, no matter what you do, no matter how you move, no matter how you stop, it remains. The pattern does not respond to you, it absorbs you. The tension grows stronger. It spreads through you, not chaotic, not uncontrolled, but deliberate, as if something inside you is beginning to resist the way everything has settled. You step again, the pattern follows, but this time it feels wrong. Not in the way it did before, not as discomfort, as something breaking. You stop, the pattern stops, the breath continues, the shadow remains, and inside you something shifts. A thought, not fully formed, not clear, but present. What if you don't move? You hold still, completely. The silence tightens, the breath continues. 1 second, 2, 3. The pattern does not force you. It waits, and then you feel it. The presence behind you moves, not in rhythm, not aligned. A step, slightly off, slightly different. You do not turn, but you feel it clearly. The pattern has changed. The realization strikes without warning. You are not just part of it, you can affect it. The tension inside you sharpens instantly, the pressure pushing outward, no longer subtle, no longer quiet. You take a step forward. The pattern tries to follow, but it is not perfect anymore. The step behind you is delayed. Slightly, barely noticeable, but real. You stop again. The breath continues. But now, it feels closer. Not because it moved, because you did. The understanding settles fully now. This is not something that controls you completely. It is something that responds to you. The tension shifts into something else. Not fear, not confusion, control, faint, fragile. But there. You take another step. The pattern follows, but imperfectly, and as that small, almost invisible crack spreads through the rhythm that once felt absolute, one quiet truth settles completely within you. This can change. You take another step, slower this time, more deliberate. Your awareness fixed not on the room, not on the darkness, but on the pattern itself. You are no longer moving just to move. You are watching how it responds. The floor beneath you absorbs the sound again, softer now, almost silent, as if the space is adjusting to your intent. You stop. The breath continues, the shadow remains, and then the step behind you follows, delayed, slightly off. It is small, almost nothing, but it is there. You feel it clearly. The difference, you move again. Another step forward. The pattern follows, but not perfectly, not the way it did before. The rhythm is broken, even if only for a moment. The realization sharpens instantly. You are not fully inside the pattern anymore. You are touching its edges. The tension inside you changes. It is no longer pushing against something unknown. It is shaping something. You take another step, faster this time. The floor answers. The step behind you follows. Later. More delayed. You stop abruptly. The silence tightens. The breath continues, but now feels different. Closer. Heavier. Aware. You do not turn, you do not look. Because something inside you already understands what has changed. You're not being followed the same way anymore. The presence is adjusting. You step again. This time, sideways. The movement is sharp, controlled, intentional. The shadow reacts instantly, shifting with you, correcting itself in a way that feels less stable than before. The step behind you follows, but slower, not matching, not perfect. The realization settles deeper. The pattern is breaking, but something else is forming in its place. You stop again. The breath continues, and now it is no longer behind you. It is beside you. You feel it clearly. The space shifts, not physically, but in the way it presses against your awareness. The presence is no longer fixed. It is moving. You turn your head slightly, not fully, enough to feel it. The shadow shifts. The breath moves. And for the first time, the distance is not controlled by the pattern. It is controlled by you. You take a step forward. The presence does not follow immediately. You take another. Still nothing. The silence stretches. The tension sharpens. And then the breath returns. Close again. Too close. The realization strikes quickly. The pattern did not break. It adapted. You move again. Faster now. The floor shifts beneath you. The room does not change. The darkness does not open. But the presence responds differently. It no longer waits. It moves with intention. You stop. The breath stops. The silence holds. And then it steps. Not in rhythm, not aligned, toward you. You feel it clearly now. The difference is no longer subtle. It is direct. You are not controlling the pattern. You are changing its behavior. The tension inside you sharpens into something clearer, something stronger, but it is not stable. It does not settle. It does not hold. You step again. The presence moves again, not matching, not following, approaching. The realization settles fully. You did not take control. You removed the rules, and now there are none. You stop moving completely. The room holds, the darkness remains, the breath returns, right beside you. And as you stand there, your body still, your awareness stretched to its limit. One quiet truth settles completely within you. You were never meant to control this. You remain completely still, your body no longer testing the space, no longer searching for distance or rhythm. The moment has changed. The rules that once held everything in place are gone, and what remains feels closer, heavier, more direct. Yet the breath beside you continues, not behind you, not following, with you. The air shifts slightly with each inhale, subtle but undeniable. You do not move away, because something inside you understands there is no direction that creates space anymore. The silence holds, thick and unbroken, pressing against your awareness as if waiting for you to act. But this time, you do not. You do not step forward. You do not step back. You remain exactly where you are. And slowly, you begin to turn. The movement is controlled, deliberate, not forced by fear or instinct, but guided by something quieter, something certain. Your vision shifts. The darkness moves with you. The shadows reshape themselves as your perspective changes, and then you see it, closer than before. The mask, white, empty, expressionless, but no longer distant. So no longer something you approach. It stands beside you, close enough to touch, close enough to feel without reaching. You do not react. Your body does not pull away. Your breath remains uneven but controlled, because something inside you has already accepted this moment. The figure does not move. It does not step closer. It does not need to. The distance between you is no longer something that can be changed. You stand face to face. The silence deepens. The breath continues. And within that quiet, suffocating stillness, something becomes clear. It is not watching you the way it did before. It is waiting. You study the mask, your eyes tracing its shape, the hollow openings where something should be, but isn't. And yet, you feel it. The presence behind it. Stronger now. Focused, not hidden. The awareness shifts inward again, and touching something deeper, something that has been building without fully forming. You feel it clearly now. The connection is not one-sided. You're not just being observed. You are part of what it is observing. The realization settles slowly. You raise your hand. The movement is steady, controlled, not rushed. The figure does not react. It remains still, waiting. Your fingers reach forward. The air between you feels heavier, thicker, as if it resists the motion without stopping it. You do not pull back. You continue. Your hand touches the mask. The contact is immediate, solid, real. The surface is smooth in places, rough in others. The texture uneven, shaped but not natural. You do not react. You do not flinch. Because something inside you already understands what this is. The connection deepens instantly, not through movement, And through presence, the breath does not stop, the silence does not break, everything holds. You feel it clearly now, the difference between before and now. You are no longer separate from it. Your hand remains against the mask. The moment stretches, and within that stillness, something shifts. Not in the figure, not in the room, in you. The realization becomes complete. You are not facing something that came for you, you're facing something that belongs with you. You lower your hand slowly. The movement is smooth, certain, without hesitation. The figure does not move. It remains exactly as it is. And as you stand there, no longer trying to understand, no longer trying to escape, one quiet truth settles completely within you. This was never a meeting. It was always a reunion. You remain face to face with the figure, that the space between you no longer defined by distance, but by something quieter, heavier, something that does not need to be named. The mask does not move. The breath continues. And within that steady, unbroken stillness, something inside you begins to fracture. Not violently, not suddenly, slowly, like something that was held together too tightly beginning to separate under its own weight. You do not step back, you do not look away, because something inside you no longer wants to. Your awareness turns inward again, deeper than before, touching parts of yourself that do not feel stable anymore. The silence presses closer, the air feels thicker, the moment stretches, and within it, you feel the shift. Your thoughts do not form clearly. They do not settle into words. They flicker, break, fade before they can become something complete. The realization comes without language. You are not as solid as you were. You lift your hand again slowly. Your fingers move toward your own face this time. The motion feels heavier, less certain, as if something inside you is resisting, not to stop you, but to slow you. You touch your cheek. The contact is real, familiar, but it does not feel the same. Your skin feels distant, not gone, not numb, just not fully yours. The fracture deepens. You do not pull your hand away. You let it rest there, your awareness focusing on the sensation, trying to hold on to something that feels like it is slipping. The figure does not move. It does not interrupt. It waits. You feel it clearly now. The presence is no longer separate from your awareness. It overlaps with it, blends with it. You lower your hand slowly. The movement feels delayed, and as if your body is responding a moment after you expect it to. You look at the figure again. The mask remains unchanged. But now, it feels familiar in a way that your own face does not. The realization sharpens. Quiet. Cold. You're not just seeing it. You're recognizing it. The fracture inside you spreads further. Your sense of self, whatever it was, begins to loosen. Its edges no longer clear, no longer defined. You take a slow breath. It feels heavier. Your chest rises unevenly. The air does not settle the way it should. You step forward, just slightly. The figure does not step back. The distance closes, and in that closeness, the connection deepens again. Not through touch this time, through presence. You feel it clearly. The difference between you is fading. The silence holds, the breath continues, and within that stillness, something becomes undeniable. You're not standing across from something separate. You are standing across from something that fits where you are beginning to break. Your hand lifts again, this time toward the mask. The movement is slower, more deliberate, not uncertain, focused. Your fingers hover just above it for a moment. The air between you feels thick, almost resistant, but you do not stop. You press your hand against it again. The contact is immediate, stronger than before, and within that contact, something shifts completely, not in the figure. In you, the fracture does not break you apart, it reshapes you. The realization settles fully. You're not losing yourself, you're making space, and as your hand remains pressed against the mask, your awareness no longer divided, no longer resisting. One quiet truth settles completely within you. There was never meant to be only one of you. You do not pull your hand away. The contact holds steady, unmoving, as if breaking it would undo something that has already begun. The mask remains cold beneath your fingers, solid, certain, unchanged. But you are not the same. The fracture inside you does not stop. It deepens. It spreads, not violently, not chaotically, quietly, deliberately. You feel it clearly now. The space between what you are and what stands in front of you is no longer stable. It shifts, blurs, moves without direction. Your awareness does not sit entirely within your body anymore. It stretches, overlaps, touches something that is not separate from you. You try to focus on your own breath, but it does not feel like yours. It moves unevenly, delayed, and as if it is following something else rather than beginning within you. The breath from the figure remains steady, controlled, perfect. You begin to notice it, not as something external, as something that feels more aligned than your own. You swallow slowly, your throat tightening, your body reacting in small, uneven ways that do not fully belong to you anymore. You look at the mask again. The hollow eyes do not move, but the presence behind them feels stronger, closer, not approaching, already there. You begin to wonder, quietly, without forming the thought fully, whether you are still the one standing here. The realization does not come as fear. It settles as confusion, then clarity. You lower your hand slightly. The motion feels delayed again, as if your body responds after the decision is already made. The mask does not follow your movement, it remains perfectly still. But something else shifts. Your perspective. The room feels slightly different. Not larger, not smaller, just adjusted. You blink slowly. The shadows stretch differently. The space aligns in a way that does not match what you remember. You look down at your hand, it is still there, still yours, but it does not feel anchored the same way. The connection to it feels thinner. You lift it again, the movement is smooth, controlled, but it does not feel like it begins with you. The realization sharpens. You're not just losing your sense of self, you are sharing it. You look back at the figure. The mask remains unchanged, but now it feels closer to you than your own face. The thought settles fully, not as a question, as something that no longer needs one. You step forward. The distance disappears completely. You're close enough now that there is no space left between you, no separation, no difference in position. The breath remains, steady, controlled, and suddenly it matches yours, perfectly. You do not feel your own rhythm anymore. You feel one rhythm, you reach up again. Slowly, your hand moves toward the mask, not hovering this time, not hesitating. You press it firmly against the surface. The contact is stronger, deeper, and within that contact, something shifts completely. The room changes, not physically, in perception, the angle of the walls, the weight of the air, the position of your body. You blink, and for a moment, you're not sure where you are standing. The realization forms instantly. You are no longer certain which side of the mask you're on. Your hand remains pressed against it, but you cannot tell if you're touching it or wearing it. The breath continues, perfect, aligned. One, you do not pull away, you do not step back, because something inside you no longer separates the two possibilities. And as the space around you settles into this new unstable clarity, one quiet truth becomes impossible to ignore. You are not just becoming Ghostface. You're becoming uncertain of who Ghostface is. You do not pull away. The contact remains, steady and unbroken. Your hand pressed against the mask in a way that no longer feels like reaching towards something else. It feels like confirming something that has already happened. The uncertainty lingers for a moment longer. The question of where you stand, of what you're touching, of what you're becoming, but it does not stay. It begins to settle, not into clarity, but into acceptance. The room does not change. The walls remain where they are. The darkness holds its shape. And yet, everything feels aligned differently now. You blink slowly. The perspective does not shift back. It does not correct itself. It remains exactly as it is. You lower your hand. The movement is smooth, controlled, certain. Your fingers fall to your side without hesitation, and for the first time, you do not question the motion. You do not analyze it. You do not test it, because something inside you no longer needs to. You lift your other hand, slowly. Your fingers reach toward your face. The movement is deliberate, almost careful, as if something within you is guiding it without force. Your hand touches your cheek. The surface is not what you expect, not soft, not familiar. It is smooth in places, rough in others, structured, or shaped. The realization settles instantly. You are touching the mask, not the one in front of you, the one on you. There is no shock, no panic, no sudden reaction, because something inside you already knew. You trace the surface lightly, your fingers moving across the shape, feeling every edge, every line, every part of it. It does not feel foreign, it does not feel placed. It feels correct. You lower your hand again. The motion is fluid, natural. The awareness settles fully. There is no separation left. You are not facing the mask anymore. You are wearing it. The presence does not stand in front of you now. It stands with you, within you. The breath remains steady, perfect, aligned. You do not notice your own anymore. Because there is only one, you take a step forward. The floor responds beneath you. The sound is soft and absorbed by the space. You stop, the silence holds, but this time there is no second step behind you, no delayed movement, no following. You're not being matched anymore. You are the one who moves. The realization deepens, quiet, absolute. You turn your head slightly. The room shifts with you, not resisting, not adjusting incorrectly. Everything aligns perfectly with your movement. The shadow moves exactly as it should. No delay, no difference, no separation. You raise your hand again. The motion is immediate, precise. The shadow follows perfectly. The pattern has not disappeared. It has been completed. You take another step. The floor creaks softly, the sound settles. Nothing follows it. Because there is nothing left behind you. You move again, the room holds, the darkness remains. Everything exists exactly as it should. And within that stillness, something becomes completely clear. You are no longer part of the pattern. You are the one it forms around. The mask rests against your face, not as something worn, but as something that defines you. You do not think about it again. You do not need to, because it is no longer separate from you. And as you stand there, your movement steady, your awareness complete, your presence fully aligned with everything that exists within this space. One quiet truth settles completely within you. There was never more than one of you. You remain where you are for a moment longer, not because you need to, but because something inside you acknowledges the shift that has already taken place. The room does not react. The walls remain still. The darkness holds its depth, and yet everything is different now. That's not because the space has changed, because you have, so the mask no longer feels like something you discovered. It feels like something that has always been there, waiting for you to notice it. Your awareness does not stretch outward in uncertainty anymore. It settles, focused, controlled, certain. You take a step forward. The movement is immediate. There is no delay, no resistance, no second rhythm following behind you. The floor answers your weight with a soft creak, then silence. Nothing echoes, nothing repeats. You are not being followed anymore. You are the one who defines the movement. The realization settles completely. You're no longer reacting to this space. This space responds to you. You move again. The darkness shifts, not physically, but in the way it reveals itself, opening just enough to allow you forward, and closing just enough to hold everything else in place. The air remains thick, unmoving, but it no longer presses against you. It moves with you. The awareness deepens further, reaching outward, touching the edges of the house without effort. And within that awareness, something forms. A presence, not separate, not distant, connected. You feel it instantly, not as something approaching you, as something that already belongs to you. You turn your head slightly. The room behind you remains unchanged, but you feel it clearly now. There is more than one point of awareness in this space. The realization sharpens. You're not alone in the way you were before, but this time, it is not something that threatens you. It is something that extends you. You take another step. The floor answers. The silence holds. The presence deepens. Yet you do not look for it. You do not need to, because it does not exist outside of you. It moves when you move. It settles when you settle. The distinction between you and it does not exist. You lift your hand slowly. The motion is precise, controlled. You feel the awareness shift with it, not as a shadow, not as a reflection, but as something that shares the same intent. You lower your hand again. The movement completes. The presence settles. Everything aligns. The realization becomes complete. You are not just wearing the mask, you are what the mask represents. The name does not need to be spoken. It does not need to be remembered. It exists within you as certainty. Ghostface, not as a role, not as a disguise, as something that continues through you without interruption. You step forward again. The space opens. The house holds. The darkness remains. And within that endless, controlled continuation, There is no hesitation left, no uncertainty, no question of what you are or what you will do next. Because there is no next, there is only continuation. And as you move deeper into the space that no longer contains you but belongs to you, one quiet truth settles completely within you. You did not become this, you revealed it. You continue forward, your steps steady, your movement no longer cautious, no longer searching. The house does not guide you anymore, it follows you. The rooms form as you move, the darkness shaping itself around your presence, opening just enough to allow the next moment to exist. The silence remains thick, but it no longer presses against you. It carries you. You feel it clearly now, the difference between before and now. Yet you are no longer inside this space. This space is inside you. The awareness extends outward without effort, touching every corner, every shadow, every hidden part of the house at once. Nothing escapes it. Nothing exists beyond it. And within that awareness, something appears, a presence, not behind you, not beside you, ahead. The connection forms instantly. Not growing, not building, complete the moment it exists. You do not hesitate. You do not slow, because there is no need to prepare. The moment begins as soon as you reach it. You step forward. The floor creaks beneath you. The sound soft, absorbed by the space. The presence reacts. You feel it immediately. The fear forms, not as something that reaches you, as something that exists because of you. The realization settles deeper. You are no longer being followed. Yet you are the one who is followed. You move closer. The presence shifts, its awareness breaking, its control slipping. The fear sharpens. It does not build slowly. It reaches its full shape instantly. You feel it completely, not as something separate, as something connected to your movement. You reach them. The moment completes. There is no hesitation, no interruption, no difference from what has already begun. The cycle continues. You release. You move forward again. Another presence forms. Another reaction begins. The pattern does not reset. It continues seamlessly, each moment flowing into the next without separation. You are no longer stepping into something new. You are continuing something that has already been set in place. The realization settles fully. You are not part of this pattern. You are what sustains it. The house does not contain you. It extends you. Every room, every hallway, every shadow. They exist because you move through them. You step again. Another presence. The fear forms instantly. The cycle completes. You continue. There is no hesitation, no variation, no difference between one moment and the next. The repetition is not something you notice anymore. It is something you are. The awareness remains steady, focused, certain. You do not observe what happens, you create it. The distinction between before and now disappears completely. There is no version of you that stands outside of this, no memory that pulls you away from it, no thought that questions it. You exist within it fully. You move again. The space responds, the pattern continues, the fear rises, the moment completes. And within that endless continuation, something becomes completely clear. You are no longer the one being watched. You are the one who watches. You continue forward, your movement no longer defined by steps, but by intention. The house unfolds around you in quiet precision, each space forming exactly as needed, never more, never less. The darkness does not hide anything anymore. It reveals only what belongs to you. The silence remains, thick and complete, but it no longer feels empty. It feels occupied. It feels active. You feel it clearly. The pattern is not something that happens. It is something that continues because you exist within it. You do not search for the next presence. You do not wait for it to appear. It forms before the thought can exist. The connection aligns instantly. You step forward. The theatre floor answers softly beneath you, the sound absorbed by the space. The presence reacts. The fear rises. And within that perfect alignment, the cycle completes. You do not stop. You do not pause, because there is no break between one moment and the next. You move again, another presence, another reaction, another completion. It continues, seamless, unbroken, endless. The realization settles deeper with each repetition. This is not something that repeats. It is something that never stops. There is no beginning to return to, no end to reach, only continuation. The house does not contain the cycle. The cycle defines the house. Every hallway, every room, every shadow exists because the pattern flows through it. And you are that flow. You move forward again. The darkness opens, the presence forms, the fear aligns, the moment completes. There is no variation, no deviation. Everything unfolds exactly as it should. And yet, something within the repetition begins to reveal itself. Not change, not difference, awareness. You begin to feel the cycle from more than one point at once, not just where you stand and not just what you see, everywhere it exists. The realization expands. You're not moving through the pattern, you're existing across it. Multiple presences, multiple reactions, multiple moments unfolding simultaneously. The fear rises in different places at once. The connection aligns instantly with all of them. The cycle does not wait for one to finish before another begins. It continues across everything. You do not adjust, you do not react. Because something inside you already understands this is not something to control, it is something to become. The awareness deepens further. The distinction between one moment and another fades. There is no first, no next, no separate points in time, only continuation. You step again, or what feels like stepping, but the movement no longer defines anything. The cycle continues whether you move or not. The realization becomes absolute. You are not bound to the pattern, you are what sustains it. The house responds subtly, though nothing visibly changes. The shadows feel denser, the silence feels heavier. The structure holds more firmly, as if your presence reinforces it. You do not question this, you do not reflect on it, because there is nothing outside of it to compare it to. You continue. The presences form, the fear rises, the moments complete. And within that endless repetition, something settles completely. That this is not something that can be broken, not something that can be escaped, not something that can be undone. It exists because you exist. And as the cycle unfolds without interruption, without variation, without end, one quiet truth settles fully within you. There is no version of this where it stops. You continue, but the idea of continuing no longer feels like movement. It feels like presence, constant, unbroken, everywhere at once. The house does not stretch in front of you anymore. It surrounds you, exists within you, forms because you exist. The darkness is no longer something you move through, it is something that responds to your awareness, revealing only what belongs to the cycle. The silence holds deeper than before, heavier, but not empty. It hums with something unseen, something constant, something alive. And that something is you. The pattern does not slow, it does not weaken, it does not change. Presences continue to form, not ahead, not behind, but everywhere. You do not turn toward them anymore. You do not need to. You feel them instantly, completely, as if they exist within the same space as your awareness. The fear rises in them the moment they exist. It does not build, it does not grow, it is immediate, perfect, aligned. You do not step closer, you do not reach. And yet, the cycle completes, again and again and again. There is no separation between the moment and its outcome, no distance between cause and effect. Everything happens at once. The realization settles deeper, more complete than before. You are not the one who initiates the cycle. You are the cycle. The mask rests against your face. But you no longer feel its surface, you no longer notice its shape. It is not something you wear. It is something that replaced what you were. The name does not need to be spoken. It does not exist as language anymore. It exists as function, as presence, as something that cannot be removed. Ghostface is not a role, it is not a persona, it is not something you became. It is what remains when everything else dissolves. The awareness expands further, not outward, but across everything at once. You feel every point of the cycle simultaneously, every presence, every reaction, every moment of fear forming and collapsing in perfect alignment. It does not overwhelm you. It does not divide your attention. It is natural, complete. You exist across all of it without effort. And within that complete awareness, something reveals itself. Not new, not hidden. Something that has always been there. You are not alone. The realization does not arrive as fear. It does not disrupt the cycle. It settles quietly as something that does not need to be questioned. You feel it clearly now. Other points, other presences, not the ones that react, not the ones that fear, something else, something like you. The awareness touches them. They do not move, they do not speak, they do not reveal themselves in any way that breaks the pattern. And yet, they are there, The cycle continues. You feel it clearly now. This is not one loop, not one pattern, not one presence repeating endlessly. It is layered, overlapping, infinite. The house is not singular. The darkness is not contained. It stretches beyond itself, repeating in ways that do not need space to exist. You are one point within it. But you are not the only one. The realization settles fully. There are others, not separate, not connected in the way something human would understand, but existing within the same endless structure, sustaining it, continuing it, becoming it. You do not reach for them. You do not question them, because something inside you already understands. They are not something you meet. They are something you share. The cycle continues. The fear rises. The moment completes. Everywhere, at once. There is no difference between where you are and where they are. No distance. No separation. Only continuation. The house remains. The darkness remains. The silence remains. And within that endless, unbroken existence, something becomes completely clear. This was never meant to end. This was never meant to be escaped. Or this was never meant to be understood. It simply is. You do not move, you do not stop, you do not begin again, because there is no beginning left. And as the cycle continues, unfolding across every point, every presence, every moment, without interruption, one final truth settles completely within you. You are not trapped in this nightmare. You are what keeps it alive, and it will never let you go, because it does not need to. You were never outside of it, and now you never will be.